with the requirements of RSA 91-A:22. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. I don't believe anybody is participating by Zoom, so that's not an issue. So would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Tim Senate.
Here.
Alderman Derek Theobald is absent. Alderman John Sullivan.
Here.
Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly is absent. Alderwoman at Large Laurie Wilshire is expected shortly. Alderman at Large Michael O'Brien is present. And our chairman, Alderman Richard A. Dowd.
Present.
Okay, also in attendance is Lisa Foto, Public Works Director, Dan Hudson, City Engineer, Brian Conant, Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, John Ibera, Superintendent of the Streets, Dave Boucher, Superintendent of Wastewater, and Jeffrey LaFleur, President of Solid Waste. Superintendent, yeah.
Did I see Dan? I didn't see Dan.
I don't see Dan.
No, Dan is not here.
Okay.
All right, then we'll cross him off. Is he expected?
No.
Okay, then we'll cross him off.
Okay. So, next item is communications,
There are none.
unfinished business,
There is none.
new business resolutions,
There are none.
new business ordinances,
There is none.
tabled in committee.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make the motion to remove from the table R-25-143, which is the pending 2026 budget, by roll call.
Does not need by roll call.
No, we don't. That's right, too. Everybody's here, so.
Here, live and in person.
We're live.
So,
Not Memorex.
the motion on the floor is to remove R-25-143, the budget from the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Excuse me.
So tonight, we are going to be discussing the Division of Public Works. And Director Photo, do you want to bring?
The gaggle forward.
Alderman really won't be coming?
She's,
Doesn't look like it.
yeah.
Okay.
You can sit next to me.
If not, you can have my seat.
Well, Larry's going to be.
Oh, yeah, Laurie's.
I'll leave her seat just in case.
There's plenty to go around.
Yeah, I think there's plenty without sitting.
Lonely over
Yep.
here, so we were. At least we're even.
Alderman Wilshire sit there. So sit on the other side of Jeff,
Yeah,
please.
it's the second, third, and fourth row.
That's fine.
All right.
Okay.
So, Director Photo, do you want to give an overview of the division, and then we'll go department by department?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Alderman Dowd. Good evening. For the record, my name is Lisa Photo. I serve as the Director of Public Works. I'm going to just list the folks that are with me this evening, because there were a few that were missing. Carolyn O'Connor, to my left, the Assistant Director of Public Works. Matt LeBlanc, Division Operations Manager. Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste. John Ibera, Superintendent of Streets. Mike Rush, Superintendent of Fleet. David Boucher, Superintendent of Wastewater. Brian Conant, Superintendent of Parks. And Lauren Byers, Recreation Administrator. The fiscal year 26 Public Works General Funds budget before you tonight reflect an increase of 3% over our fiscal year 25 budget, in line with the mayor's directive. The increase was primarily used to cover contractual wage increases, purchasing guidelines, and increases in parts for our equipment. The vacant DPW permits coordinator position was eliminated, and a fleet service representative is being created. The fleet service representative will work with all city departments as a liaison to schedule inspections and repairs, order and pick up parts, maintain inventory, etc. We also added a solid waste assistant to the solid waste department to meet our permit requirements. The total fiscal year '26 budget is $66,213,989. $39 million or 59% is wastewater, $11.2 million or 17% is solid waste, $6.4 million or 10% is streets, $2.5 million or 4% is fleet, $3.9 million or 6% is parks, $668,500 or 1% is recreation, and $2.2 million or 3% is administration and engineering. We'll present the changes in each budget and happy to answer any questions. And with your permission, Alderman Dowd, we'll begin with administration and engineering.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, and Assistant Director Carolyn O'Connor will be going over that budget as Engineer Hudson
So
is
as
not with us.
each person presents, please give your name for the record so the transcriptionist can know who's speaking.
Carolyn O'Connor, Assistant Director of Finance. In the admin engineering budget, minimal changes. It was, excuse me.
Excuse me, I forget to say that the revenues are on page 25 and appropriations are on page 88.
Revenues are level funded, this department.
Okay?
Going to the expenses, changes were included, the contractual obligations with wages and benefits. We have level funded our 53 professional and technical services. We've reduced our 54 property and services for some of our utilities based on the historical and purchasing guidelines. We increased the building and maintenance with additional, after being in the building, the new building for a year, having the things that we need to have under contract, like HVAC services and elevator inspections. 55 other services. We have our other contracted services, which is, we reduced, but it does include our BPW minutes, Zoom subscriptions, and other various services relating to the DPW facility. We level funded our supplies and materials. And level funded our equipment 71.
Questions? Questions from Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you.
Yes.
Could you go through category line 55, other services? From what I can see is it looks like the print's really small, but it looks like it dropped.
Oh, I'm sorry. We reduced our telephone cellular. That's just a review of what data plans we have
Okay.
and what cell services we use if someone might have a stipend or there might be a city cell phone.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? One question I have is postage, which presumably is going up in price. Last year was $1,500, and as of March, you'd spent $2,316, and you're only budgeting $1,000, $500 than last year. Is there a reason for that?
That was just looking at the historical, whether or not we might have more notifications that go out and just to be able to reach the guidelines that we have where we could take some money from. So we may end up that we don't even hit the 1,000 next year.
Any other questions? No? Thank you. All right. With that, we'll move on to streets. 161, and the revenues are on page 26, and the appropriations are on page 90.
Thank you. John Ibarra, Superintendent of Streets. Page 26 does reflect the revenues for the department, anticipated revenues, as well as what was taken in through the snow tow. And on page 90, I'll address and highlight the changes in the budget. Wages and benefits, those are contractual changes. So I'd move you to line 54114, heating gas. That was reduced from 55 to 50,000 based on historical usage and the purchasing guidelines. Janitorial services, 54,200. Streets got a new contract and broke out from fleet and it was grouped before, so that was reduced from 20,000 to 7,200. Snow plowing services, 54207, we reallocated and lowered that number from 25,000 to 22,000 to stay within the 3% guideline, reallocating that to the next line, at least a portion of it, to 54228 pest control services. Down there at Streets, it's an old facility and not really tight, so we have a lot of, let's say, wildlife that joins us day to day. So we thought it'd be prudent to increase that line item, help us better manage that. 54243, we adjusted that from 25,000 this year to 35,000. That's a 1978 boiler and an antique unit on the roof that require a lot of maintenance. So again, we thought it prudent to raise that. Other contracted services, 55699. We also raised that from 26,000 to 36,000. That's our service vendors that may not be under a line item, fuel tank maintenance, things like that. Fire panel, anything that's not in a line item. Clothing and uniforms, we were able to reduce that 61107 from 40,000 to 32,000. That's because Fleet split off from Streets and they are their own department now, so they share that budget. And the last change that I have is 61560, construction materials. We raised that from 34,000 to 39,000, a modest increase, based on a predicted raise in construction materials and the pricing. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. Really, your budget is 6.4 million. This is really just a kind of an FYI question. Snow plowing services for $22,000. I mean, we have snow plows, right?
We do.
So how does that work?
Weather can be extreme, and if we needed additional help due to lack of workforce, broke down equipment, blizzard conditions, we could then go out and try and get a contractor to come and assist.
Okay, so you go out and you hire
Yep,
private
loaders,
folks to do it?
equipment, yep.
Okay. Just a follow-up on
Follow up,
that line
Alderman
item,
Sullivan?
because according to my budget book, through the end of March, you hadn't used any of that budget. And it seemed like we had a pretty severe winter, but yet you're putting in 22,000 again for those services. What's the justification there?
Having that safety net as weather's unpredictable.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Alderman O'Brien?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, we're working actively trying to get the Public Works, a new Public Works garage built adjacent to the office, wonderful office facility. That can anticipate, such as you mentioned, the age of the boiler and everything. That can eliminate some of that future costs and everything going down the road with that pending project, correct?
Absolutely, 100% agree.
Okay. And it could eliminate your visitation by the pests?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. How are you doing on staffing? What's your total full-time employees for the streets department? How many are unfilled? Where are you in that?
I don't have the total right in front of me, but I do have 7 vacancies. We've been interviewing all year. We brought on quite a few. We brought on 4 operators, so we have a full boat in the operators. That's 8 positions there. We just hired a mason. Now we have a full boat on masons. There's 4 positions there. I have 19 drivers. I'm down 7, so I have 12 on hand there. Sign maintenance, we're full. Traffic techs, we're full. So
Okay.
we're getting there.
Okay.
Follow-up?
We, just a couple of weeks ago, we passed the ordinance about the commercial license. Does that affect your department?
It can.
Okay.
We've had applications coming through the door again. I don't know where from.
Yeah.
They're people resurfacing. So trying to hold back on that. but leaving that as a fail-safe or a backup position to be in.
Okay,
I did bring 2 guys on that didn't have a CDL, that we're going to put them through the program.
okay. Good.
Yep.
So you got some success.
Yep.
Well, so far, we'll see
So
how
far.
they, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Thanks.
I know somewhere in the pages here, the training for those CDL drivers was increased on a line item, and I don't remember which line it was, but, so you still have that program for training those people?
Yes.
All right, the only question I have is salt.
Yes, sir.
It looks like your cost is going down. That doesn't,
I haven't seen that yet. That'll come out later in the season.
because, let's see, on the salt line, 653,500 last year for a budget, it's been fully expended, but yet you're only budgeting in 26, 545. Are you anticipating using less salt, or?
I don't anticipate using less salt, no. Our budget was at 545. It should maintain at that number. Let me just find it here.
Actually use more.
We used more,
Yeah.
yeah.
We did a change order this year because of the extreme weather. So we did a change order for 118,000. So that you'll see the difference in the numbers there.
So the original
But the
budget was
budgeted numbers,
545,
that
but
is
then
correct.
we allocated additional funds to get it up to the 663,500.
Yes, I believe it was 118,000 that we did for a change order.
So that was because of the salt usage on the types of storms we had.
We
I
had
assume.
clearly almost expended the budgeted allotment, and we still had another month and a half of winter weather. So in anticipation of some weather, we decided to do a change order so we could stock the barn.
So you have an expendable trust fund, which is for snow plowing. Does that also cover salt?
Yes.
So if you need extra money, you get it from that? Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions on streets?
Thank you.
Seeing none, we'll go on to fleet. It's, revenues on page 27, appropriations on page 92.
Michael Rush, Fleet Superintendent. The revenue line has brought in $1,875 for the FY '25. That's mostly due to the sale of vehicles and equipment that was no longer needed. Moving to line 163, 51, salaries and wages. Most of this is all contractual. We did remove a seasonal position, and the rest of that line is also contractual after that. Line 52, fringe benefits, that is also contractual. Line 54, property services. Few changes here, mostly due to the department splitting off. So we moved some of the street stuff over to accommodate some of the things that fleet would need. These first 3 lines for janitorial services, pest controls, and office equipment reflect that change. Vehicle and repairs and maintenance, that has been increased slightly, mostly due to inflation. Cost of parts is going up. So does, unfortunately, the budget has to go up with it. We added a line for towing services. That was also something that was moved over from the street department because it falls in line more with fleet than it does with the department that it was in. Moving to line 55, other services. Again, some of these were moved over from the street department when the department split off. Big change on this line would be for the employee training and certifications. You'll see that there is quite an increase there. We have a lot of new employees in the fleet department, many of them which are under 5 years with the city. So to get them up to date on the newer style air brakes, the ever-changing diagnostic software, the electric vehicles, the CNG vehicles, we've increased the training budget and plan to educate them to get them up to where they need to be to service all of our equipment. Moving to line 61, supplies and materials. Again, the first couple of lines, office supplies, clothing, uniforms, those were moved over from the street department budget to the fleet budget. was a slight increase in gases. That's mostly due to inflation. Fuel is bid-based. That goes out to bid through the purchasing department. Those are based on historical data. Moving on to the tire line, there was a slight increase. Talking to the vendors, they didn't seem to think that there would be much of an increase on tires for the year of '26. Vehicle parts and supplies, that has gone up slightly, mostly due to inflation. Moving to line 71, equipment. Small tools, that has increased slightly. We try to prepare for upcoming tools that need to be replaced or added equipment as technology changes. So we try to have an outlook on that to prepare for the next year of what we might have to buy for the shop. One other change on that line is the office equipment. That was carried over from the street department budget as well, so that we could take care of our office equipment should we need any services in any one of the 3 offices we have. Continuing line 71 is miscellaneous equipment. This line we typically use for catastrophic failures of some equipment that we might have, like a drill press, or something like that, or other types of equipment that we may need to purchase to aid us in the shop, to make like hydraulic hoses and things of that nature. Happy to answer any questions you have on any of these lines.
Questions, Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. I meant to ask this for both the streets and the fleet department. The surf purchases, I noticed, I looked at the fiscal year '26 surf schedule. I didn't see anything for fleet, but I saw a number of vehicles under your department, sir, under streets. For fiscal year '25, did you buy all the vehicles you were supposed to buy? Are you on target?
I believe we did, didn't we? Yes.
Yeah, yes, the street department FY '25 has been completed. I think the
Okay.
only thing that was still lingering was 2 solid waste vehicles, which are going this coming month.
Okay. And a follow-up,
Follow-up?
please? And how are you doing on staffing?
I'm very excited. We fill our last spot, hopefully as of June 2nd, and that will give us fully staffed, and it has been a few years since I've been able to say that. So
Congratulations.
It's very exciting. The CDL program that you mentioned, I do have 3 people that will be coming on board as a reflection of what we had passed.
Okay, very good. Great job.
Any other questions? I have one question, just so we have it explained. Line 55, 421, no, that's not the one. 61, 390, less internal and external fuel billings, and it's a positive. Can you explain that line?
You mean it's a negative?
It's a negative,
Yeah,
yes.
that is billed out to the other departments and outside agencies that fuel, at the fuel master, because streets department, fleet department carries all the fuel for the city, and then some things are billed out to the other.
I was pretty sure that's what it was, but just so people understand that are looking at the book and have no clue what that is for. Okay. All right, any other questions? No? Then we will move on to parks. And that's revenues on page 28, appropriations on page 94.
Good evening. Brian Conant, Superintendent of the Parks Department. You'll see on page 28, there 54 miscellaneous revenue, 54302 Holman Stadium cell phone towers. That is increased substantially due to an additional cell phone tower that was erected over there. I'd be happy to answer any questions on the revenues if there are any.
Questions on the revenues? I see actually all of them went up slightly. All the towers?
Yes, I believe some of the towers have contractual increases on year-to-year basis. So that would explain the other increases, Alderman Dowd.
Oh, when one of the cell companies wants to put a tower up, they cover the entire cost of installation and putting up the tower and maintaining the tower, and then they pay us a fee, correct?
That was my experience with the Holman Stadium installation.
Excellent. Questions? on the revenues? Nope, okay.
I'd like to get into the general fund on page 94. The increases under category 51 and 52 are both contractual obligations. Under 54, property services, you'll see a line increase on 54250, pool repairs and maintenance, going from $10,000 to $20,000. We use this line item to repair various different things that go wrong within the pools that we have, the Wading Pool, Crown Hill Pool, Rotary Pool, and Centennial Pool. Just to give you an example, this past year, we had 2 pumps go down. Both pumps cost around $11,000 to $12,000 to replace. So, just to give you an idea. Line item 54253, tree removal services, we're going up from 25 to 35. There seems to be a significant demand. We run into a lot of situations that we can handle in-house and that we do handle. A lot of the times we'll run into situations that need to involve a crane. We don't have that capability, and that work we contract out. This is what we use most of these funds for. Line item 54600, vehicle repairs and maintenance. There's a transfer from vehicle parts and supplies. That's where that increase comes from on that line. Line item 54821, equipment rentals. The increase there is due to a lease package on an autonomous field lining machine called the Turf Tank that we've implemented into the department. Been very happy with that, helped us out tremendously this spring. Slight decrease in mileage reimbursements, line item 55307. You'll see field day and fireworks, $25,000. That was moved to the Parks Department because the Park Superintendent is the point of contact on the contract for the fireworks.
Had me worried there for a minute.
Slight decrease in line item 61100 in office supplies. And you'll see that there was a decrease in line item 61799. That was the transfer to vehicle repairs. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Alderman Senate.
Oh, thank you. I had a question on the line item you just called out, the field day and fireworks. My memory may be hazy, but if I remember correctly, that was moved from Parks to what I believe was a new Recreation Department last year. Is that correct?
You are correct, Alderman.
All right. And so this is moving this back into Parks. And is that just because of initiation rights on a contract, you said?
I would say that it's because this Park Superintendent is the point of contact on the contract, and the
Okay.
Parks Department really does a lot of work making that event happen. You know, we do work with the Recreation Department during that event as well, but the staff really puts on that event. So,
Sure, fair enough. I certainly don't want to see it go anywhere. It's kind of played ping pong for a couple of years, so, thank you.
Everybody in the city would shoot us if they get rid of the 4th of July.
I'm not proposing getting rid of the 4th of July. Let's not start.
Alderman Wiltshire.
My apologies to everyone for being late. I was with a roofer as my roof is leaking and it's downpouring, so
Ooh.
not fun.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, I would like to say to welcome Alderman Wilshire, and you've been recorded at 7:25. Thank you, and welcome.
Okay. Other questions? Alderman Sullivan.
Thank you. We appropriated money in fiscal year '25 for a few, I guess they would sit in the Parks Department. We had the pool, are they the locker rooms or the changing rooms? We're redoing the floors.
we're doing some epoxy flooring to the pool locker rooms. That went out to bid, and we actually have received 2 bids on that work.
Okay. Where, this might be a question for you, Mr. Chairman, but where do those dollars sit? Is that in capital improvement? Would it be here in the Parks Department? Where would that money
No,
be?
it's in capital projects.
It's in capital projects. Would that be the same with the Stonehouse as well? Because I know that contract got approved last night in finance.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same thing.
it's in capital.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, that's it.
Any other questions? Alderman Ryan, no?
No, I'm good.
The one question if we are so, if the board is so inclined, I know we have legislation coming forward to the possibility of repairing both major pools. And you and I discussed that you can't do them both at the same time. So if you had the funding to redo the pool, would that work all be done off swim season? So it wouldn't impact any costs associated with maintaining the pools in?
I think that would be the goal, Alderman Dow.
Good, okay. All right, any others? By the way, just from my own personal opinion, Parks has never been funded adequately enough. It seems to always be the short change on all city departments and, you know, the kids and the people that use our parks. You guys do a great job with the amount of money we give you. So just want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Alderman Dow.
All right, so we'll move on to the next. And that will be recreation.
Lauren Byers, Communication and Recreation Administrator.
Let me just say the revenues are on 29, 132, 133, appropriations on 96 and 132.
So there's no change in revenue. So we're going to start with the appropriations on page 96. If you look at line item 55421, the employee training and certifications, there's a very slight increase there. We certify through our lifeguards through the Red Cross program, and each year that certification goes up anywhere from 5 to 10%. So that's a slight increase to keep up with that and be able to certify our lifeguards. We go down to line item 660, and Superintendent Conant, he's laughing at me because I can never read anything. Superintendent Conant just explained that we moved the fireworks back into parks where they belong. So they are no longer in the recreation budget. And then we're going to go to page
Just one
132.
question, just one question there, though. You're showing 25,000 in 26 budget, but you're not showing any appropriations in the in the 25 budget, none in the 26.
Yeah, that's because it got moved.
So
It got moved.
What?
It's been moved back to parks.
Oh, wow,
Yep.
okay, all right.
So Recreation also has a program fund, and that is on page 132 of your budget book. And there are a couple of slight increases here as well. So under 51400, wages temporary seasonal, we've increased that a little bit for our counselors. They're receiving very, very low pay right now, our summer camp counselors. And we're going to increase their salaries a little bit so we can retain them and continue to have our camps. And if you go down a little further to 55658, banquets and outings, you will also see a small increase there. That's just because the Jew Karen luncheon goes up a little bit each year as costs do in these events. But also, we'd like to add some additional trips to our offerings for our residents. So that's reflective of that. And then go down a little bit further to 61128, and you will see recreation supplies. And much like anything else that we do, the costs keep increasing for our supplies for our recreation programs, and that's just a slight increase to keep up with that. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. On the revenues for the, we're on page 132 still, for your programs.
Yep,
So I did see that your revenues offset your expenses.
correct.
Fantastic. The camps that the camps and the trips, what are those? Can you explain what those are?
Absolutely. So the camps are the summer camp programs that we run.
Okay,
We run over 60 every summer.
okay,
And then the trips would be, for example, the Celtics or the Red Sox, and those are open for people to sign up for.
okay. And just a follow-up, please.
Follow up?
On both the camps and the trips. And you have the revenue going up quite a bit. So obviously, you're gonna raise the rates on those to help cover the expenses for the lift and salaries and wages and the other things that you mentioned?
That's part of it. Part of it is just having an opportunity to take the money in to do the trips and we want to add some camps.
Okay.
That gives us the opportunity to bring some new on.
Okay, okay. A follow-up,
Set?
please?
A follow-up? Go ahead.
Yeah. So it got approved last week, not going to relitigate it. Disc golf. I don't-
Yeah, we don't want to relitigate it.
I've
Can you
been
just
cheering
tell-
ever since, Alderman Sullivan.
What's that?
I've been cheering ever since.
I know it's been a couple of years since you've been out there. What is that project going to cost?
That's a good question, and I can't really tell you that at this point in time. There's a lot of things that we need to do. There's some tree removal and some other things, so I don't think it's going to be very costly. We have the funding to be able to do the work, but I don't have a handle on that at this time.
Where would it, the expense, for labor, for equipment, et cetera, where would that sit? Would that sit under Parks or Recreation? Would it sit in the overall DPW? But where in the budget would it sit?
A variety of places. In the overall DPW budget, partly, but also we have some funding from Rotary that they donated, so much of it will be coming from that.
Okay.
Follow-up.
No, I think that's enough.
Alderman Senate?
Thank you. I just had a quick revenue question. It may be two-pronged to Mr. Conant as well. Earlier this year, late last year, I can't remember which, we had passed legislation to increase the fees for ballpark rentals for the baseball parks.
Right.
Which department within the division would be seeing that revenue coming in?
That would be, unfortunately for me, the park department.
Oh, I'm
That
sorry.
would go to, that would go to the maintenance of the fields.
Okay.
Yep.
And that is slated to begin 2026?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Which would be this budget.
I know.
Any other questions? I think I missed one on, and it's probably streets. It was a line item for tree cutting.
It's Parks.
Parks? Okay. From my discussions with Dan, we never have enough money for the number of trees that need to be taken down. Is that still true?
I would agree with that.
Because we've been lucky enough to have some of them taken down by Eversource, so they don't take their lines down, which is a plus for them. But there are other trees that sometimes are dangerous. Other times, trees fall and you have to go out and clear the road. I assume that comes out of that 25,000?
No, that's the staff that makes up the Parks Department that usually responds to those calls.
Okay.
Unless the tree is tangled up in wires, then Eversource or
Yeah.
a utility company, a forestry company that's hired by a utility company, Alderman Dowd, will respond first. And
Yeah.
after it's safe, we'll usually come and clean it up because they do not. They'll just
Yeah,
cut it
they're
off the
pretty
road
good
and
if
leave
there's
it to the
wires
side.
involved.
So,
Okay, anything else on recreation? No? Move on to solid waste. Revenues on page 120 and appropriations on 121.
Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste. So you can see as our cover material revenue's gone up a little bit this year, it's our historical data we've been using. We have to use a certain amount of cover on our landfill per DES regulations. So I raised that a little bit. Other than that, the rest of the appropriations stay.
On page 120?
Yep.
So can you explain the line on state aid reimbursements?
I'm going to go to Carolyn for that one.
Right. The state aid reimbursement is a grant which provides 20% of completed projects, and the payments back to us are amortized over time, and it's just the projects that we had that were eligible. We're almost wrapped up with what we'll be receiving. So that's why we're down so low now.
Yes, I do. I think it would be solid, will come under solid waste, but last year we had a phenomenal winter. A lot of people broke some bones, unfortunately, slipping in the driveway, and stores were running out of salt, and they looked to the Public Works Division to take street salt, for their driveways. Is it true that what I heard, that they moved it to the landfill? And in order to have access, not only city resident, do you need a dump permit? I just wonder if you can opine on that. So might as well get that information out there. I know I'm not expecting salt, sand, ice, I should say, in the future here anytime soon, but.
Yes, sir. So as the division, we were having issues with some contractors going in and taking the salt out of the salt barn that we had for the residents down at the street department. In order to curb some of that, we decided to put it where our old swap shop was. It's a covered building. We have it at the landfill. Unfortunately, it limits the amount of times that people can come, 8 to 4 Monday through Friday, 8 to 1 on Saturdays. But we were having the issues with the contractors coming and stealing it, and with the cost of salt, it was costing the city a lot of money for, contractors to come in and take it for free and use it, and they could make money with it. We found that it was really worked out well. Yes, you do have to have a $5 permit, but that's, in our words, chump change to come and get your salt and sand or use the landfill for the purpose that it's there for.
Thank you for explaining it.
Other questions?
Alderman Sullivan.
Sullivan? Yes, Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. I wanted to talk about recycling. So I see here that we have sale of recyclables revenue line of $220,000. Under what line would I find the contract for how much we're charged, what the appropriation is to cart that away?
Yes, sir. It's two different things. The 220,000 is the offset from the toters that we buy. So I spend approximately 220,000, and we get back 220,000 into the recycling. That's where that money comes from.
So we break even on it?
Pretty much, or
Okay.
fairly close to it.
Yeah.
The line item that you're talking about where the recycling would come out of is other contracted services. That's why that line item is so big, and I'll go through it in my appropriations if you'd like.
Oh, I'm jumping the gun, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, I could tell you exactly what line if you'd like to know
Yeah,
right
let's
now.
go.
Other contracted services would be 55699. That's the big one, the $1.5 million. So there's,
Oh, yeah.
I budget approximately $400,000 for recycling each year in that one. And if you recall, you may have been an alderman when we had to actually appropriate more money. Recycling is such a fluctuating and volatile product for the city that one year I think I went over 500,000, almost $600,000.
Yep. Okay. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir, no problem. I can go back to the beginning here at page 121, my appropriation. Just like everyone else that preceded me here, it's the wages and full-time, it's all pretty much contractual, except for that one position that the director spoke about in the very beginning. I have a solid waste assistant that we added this year, and that's to appease our permit with the state of New Hampshire DES. They find that we don't have quite enough employees in the department to suffice our permit. 5.2 fringe benefits, same thing, contractual. My next change would be 5.3 It went up quite a bit. It's added testing for DES and permitting costs through the architects. Our engineers have to help us with anything that the DES tells us that we have to do added testing or anything. They have to review it. We have to submit reports to DES. And we're at their mercy pretty much whenever they want to change something, we have to do it. My next change would be 5.4280. I brought some money's up there. It's for added well field supplies. We're adding that in there because we're gonna have our brand-new Phase 4 construction coming on. I still have a lot to do on Phase 1, 2, and 3 for gas expansions. I need the monies for the wells to help curb any of our emissions problems that we have with the city. And then that's anticipating when we get into Phase 4, hopefully by the beginning of next fiscal year, we'll be in it. Vehicle repairs and maintenance, that's our purchasing guidelines, just like the fleet superintendent spoke about. 55699, that, the big item, the other contracted services, that's all my recycling, any added consulting that we have to do, any testing we have to do, well field repairs also, if I have to hire a contractor to help me do some intricate things, DES regulations, groundwater sampling, stormwater sampling, those are all my added contracts that, other contracted services, that's, comes out of that one. 7100 equipment, this kind of goes to the landfill also. I had to bring that up a bit for testing and tuning equipment. Every year, there's new technologies that come out, and we're trying to get up with the times and do things more efficiently, checking out for emissions, trying to curb any of our emissions that the state makes us follow for our permits. Other than that, that is basically my major changes.
Just one question I have on that line, you just said 7,100 equipment. Through March, you expended 87,000 with a budget of 53. And you're
Yep,
doing
that was some,
53 this next year. What was that
We had.
high cost increase for this year?
This past, that was all encumbered monies that we had from last year, so I bought some equipment starting off to get me ready for this year.
Okay. Other questions? Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. Mr. LaFleur, you mentioned the DES. Is that help me understand,
Sure.
state, federal?
State, it's Department of Environmental Services.
Sure.
We have to abide by any of their rules, wastewater has to abide by their rules, so we have to work continuously with them. They can change rules and regulations pretty much any time that they want.
So for all the rules and regulations that they put on our landfill, is the state aid reimbursement that I look at of $20,000 in your revenue line, is that all we get? Is that from the DES, or do we get other funding from the state?
I'm gonna refer to Carolyn. I don't think, we don't get any other funding from the state unless we go for grants.
We don't receive any other funding from the state for that. That state aid grant relates to a specific project. I'd have to go back and look and see what one is still receiving funds for it.
But in general, that's the only money that we get from the state.
DES is a taker, not a giver.
It's a very expensive endeavor to own a landfill, and that's the problem. We have to follow what DES, and eventually if EPA comes in with PFAS or something, we're gonna have to follow those regulations also, so.
Do you typically get funding for that when they make you do that?
No, that's all on it's all on us. They could tell me that I have to test, do more testing, let's say at the Shady Lane closed landfill. I have to do it. They'll tell me I have 30 days to do it. We don't have any recourse. It's pretty much you have to do it.
So they required I don't know if this is an editorial comment or not, but they required us to hire somebody. That's a full-time head, that's not part-time, the assistant?
Well, can I speak to that? They didn't require us to. What they did was they imposed a new requirement, Alderman Sullivan, that we had to pick up litter on a weekly basis instead of as needed. So we didn't have anybody to be able to do that. We only had one solid waste assistant that was doing that. So that's why we had to hire the other person to be able to meet that requirement. So they didn't force us to hire somebody per se, but we needed somebody to be able to meet that permit requirement.
Well, they kind of were.
Yes.
That's why,
yes.
that's why I worded it that way. I mean, we're pretty much, our hands are tied.
Yeah.
We have to do the work that the permit's telling us that we have to do. We need the manpower.
Well, going into a lot of detail, we built the McCarthy School, DES charges $65,000.
I don't want to get off
Yeah.
topic,
Yeah,
but isn't there something, Alderman O'Brien, about at the state level, an unfunded mandate?
Yes,
I mean, it's, to me, when you cut the state funding from, and I don't have it right in front of me, but from 116,000 to 20,000, and then they require you, in order to keep your license, I understand they didn't make us do it,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it's really kind of a, well, if you want to keep it, then you need to do it. So you better do it, or you're not going to be able to keep
You're
your
right.
permit. And then we have to hire somebody, and then they cut the funding.
Yes, you're right. What you're referring to, I think, is RSA 26A, which is an unfunded mandate.
Sure.
Okay, and it's been used many times in the past, not really solidified because they're the government. You know, and they basically think that they could do anything they want, and the current tone that's up there in both houses, the majority party probably would not like to hear a 28A discussion, although they should, in my personal opinion. You just can't go back to many of these cities and towns and just come out. You know, there's certain things that are required, such as changing the fire code and the electrical code. Those are making those, you know, modernizing them. But when it comes down to some of the things, like you say, you know, you only got 30 days to look at the New Searles landfill and to, you know, get that, just to test that out. Yeah, that it is an issue. And so therefore, voters beware, you know, in the future.
All right, I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah, it's best to, yeah.
Rabbit hole.
Okay, any other questions on solid waste? And solid waste is an enterprise fund. So might, just for the people watching, explain in the revenue section, the transfer from the general fund, because your shortfall from revenues, right, gets covered by the general fund, correct?
And solid waste? Yes.
Yes. All right. All right.
Oh, I have,
Question, Alderman Sullivan?
thank you. I just wanted to say I really like the way that's laid out. Because of the fact that it's an enterprise fund. So my follow-up question is, when does it stop being an enterprise fund because there's a shortfall? Because I think there was a shortfall last year. I don't know.
But we're actually taking less this year.
I'm sorry?
We're taking less this year from the general fund.
Okay, well, that's good. I just like the way it's laid out on page 123, appropriations, less revenue, and how much needs to come from that's just a comment. I like that. Thanks.
Any other questions? Oh, and we'll move on to the last one, which is wastewater. It's the revenues are on 125 and the appropriations are on 126.
Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. Some of the changes in the revenue section. 43530, the state aid reimbursement. Have an increase in that, down to 44507, sewer user charges. That is based off of the rate adjustment. 45207, interest income, there's an increase. 45875, Hudson Capital contributions. This is contributions from Hudson on eligible capital plant projects. And 48300, general obligation bond proceeds based off of capital projects. That's the major increases. I'll take any questions if there's any.
Questions, Alderman Senate?
Thank you. The state aid reimbursements, does that function the same way that it did in the previous department, where that's an amortized reimbursement of a grant?
Correct. And
Okay.
it's for what eligible projects we've completed are included in here, and obviously.
And just so I'm clear on that, the stream of revenue generated on that would be based on how many active projects, either at completion or nearing completion?
How many are recently completed?
Okay,
Yeah, and we've done, it's just bigger projects that were eligible in wastewater than in solid waste.
right, and that's why that number in solid waste is a little more dried up than it is here. Thank you.
questions?
Go through the appropriations, page 126. Same as the other departments, the salaries and wages and the benefits are, increases are due to contractual obligations. Professional and technical services, 53107, is an increase. This is the account we use for engineering services and that. Recently, we did a rate study, and we do follow-ups every year on the rate study. Engineering contract, general services as well, whenever we need assistance in the facility with process issues, small projects, stuff like that. And we also have anticipating a new permit to discharge into the Merrimack, so we'll need assistance with that as well, answering questions for the EPA. Down to 54100, electricity. There are increases. We looked at the rates, historical usage on electricity. That's the reason for the increase there. 54221, disposal services. There's an increase in the disposal of our sludge. We have resource management that manages our sludge that's generated at the facility. They land apply it on farmland. So, and 54487, equipment repairs and maintenance. This is due to the cost increases we see in parts, also historical usage. Under other services, the 5400. Conferences and seminars as an increase. These are the conferences we go to maintain our licenses, also to stay updated on new regulations. 55514, license and permits. This is the permits we have throughout the facility. We see an increase in our air permit. We also have licenses on some of our equipment as well. Now, 55699, other contracted services, we're seeing an increase here. This is all the companies we use for PM services on all our major equipments, our generators, our HVAC system, boilers. We also have a lot of technical equipment at the facility. We have to hire the company that we purchased it from to come in and do servicings annually. 61149, the laboratory supplies is an increase. We're just seeing a general increase in the actual equipment we're purchasing for daily use. 61156, the chemicals. Not so much of an increase, but we are seeing additional uses of chemicals throughout the facility. We have odor control systems that use chemicals. The process treatment uses chemicals. 61299, miscellaneous supplies. This is just the general supplies we buy throughout the facility to repair stuff. A lot of it's electrical supplies. We are seeing an increase in that, but we're also going by historical usage. Moving down to 71, equipment. We are seeing an increase in that. We had some spare parts being purchased. We have a lot of pumps throughout the facility, so we are trying to keep some on the shelf because we're a 24/7 facility. So it's important that we have keep things running. 71228, computer software. An increase in that one. We do have some updates to software we're going through. Also, we're looking at a new PM program software specific to wastewater. Under 75, debt services, see an increase in 75100, the principal, and 81700, infrastructure improvements. A lot of the improvements we're doing is for maintaining existing equipment, existing processes, and also improving the existing processes, and also to meet regulations that are coming down the pike. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. On that last page, 128 and 129, so I see what we have here is total infrastructure improvements. When I look at the bottom line, it's 17.2 million. And then if I go up to the debt service, the 7.7 million, that's principal and interest on the that's bonds, I assume. Are those bonds funding any of those projects on page 129? They are. It says projects to be funded by bonding. So can you just explain that,
Well,
please?
the debt service that shows here would be
Yeah.
for projects that are completed and were funded by bond. This 17 million is the list of the new projects that we have coming. There'll be new bonds.
So those will be new bonds in fiscal year 2026.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be sold in 26 or 27.
Right, but we're gonna see legislation
They're-
come
Yeah.
through?
Yeah, they're paid for out of enterprise funds, so there would be legislation, yes.
Okay. All right, so, yeah, that answers my question. I just wasn't unclear on how that all worked. Thanks.
Other questions, Alderman Senate?
Thank you. Probably a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You have a line here, 68902, reserved for replacements to the tune of 1.6 million. That seems to me like a rainy day fund for any number of the pieces of equipment that you have over there breaking down suddenly like things are wont to do. Am I understanding that correctly, or is that something?
I'm sorry, which line did you?
68902, reserved for replacements.
That,
Oh, can't really.
that is the contribution that we do to, similar to SURF. We have WRF, which is Wastewater Equipment Replacement Fund, and to put money in each year so that we're prepared based on the schedule of things that need to be replaced.
Okay.
So hopefully we don't have to do another big bond.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, that completes our review of DPW. One question, I noticed in some of your lines that you have income from selling equipment that we no longer use. Would it be a hardship to your division, and I'm not suggesting get done this budget year, but to me, I always thought that if we had equipment that was being replaced and we're selling the old piece of equipment, that income ought to go into SURF.
It would depend if it's a wastewater piece of equipment, go to the enterprise fund. And if it was a vehicle or something, that would be determined from the CFO if the monies should be going into WRF. These are generally smaller pieces of equipment that wouldn't have been bought from SURF.
Okay, all right. Yeah, there are some that aren't SURF items. And I also believe the SURF is going to be looked at because we already had to update it because of, A, the costs were not reflected correctly based on today's cost of equipment, and B, the time to get those purchased. Like fire trucks now, ladder trucks are like 48 months. Crazy. Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. On the SURF, I forgot to ask, so I have to go backwards, if you don't mind. Just in solid waste, I do see that there are some vehicles scheduled here in fiscal year '26 for SURF replacements. Question I asked earlier, how did you do in '25? Did you stay on schedule? Did you buy everything you needed to?
Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. The fleet manager, he said, I think we're going forward this month or for
Yes.
two pieces.
Mike
of
Rush, Fleet
equipment.
Superintendent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we work together. I work with all the departments when they're purchasing their equipment. But for solid waste, the last two vehicles, which is an automated side loader and a manual side loader, those are the last two pieces of equipment for FY '25. Those are going to be coming to the BPW and the finance this next round
Okay,
in May.
all right, okay. And that'll clear you up for FY '25?
Yeah, I believe those are the last two pieces that we need to complete the FY '25.
Okay, and in your opinion, the 5 vehicles that are slated to be replaced in fiscal year '26, you still see that need?
Yes, actually, there was a meeting here last night on that to try to do early purchases to kind of save some money and try to lock in some prices due to what's going on in the world right now.
Okay.
Alderman Sullivan, not to interrupt, the director and I and a bunch of us in the division, we actually did a 10-year plan probably 10 years ago, and we're trying to stay on schedule with that. I have to rotate so many vehicles through, or you're gonna end up with, as we did, I think, 10 or 15 years ago, we had to buy like 13 trucks all at once, and that was a major hit for the city. So now I'm just trying to decide, do I buy 2 Packers this year, 3 next year? We're trying to spread it out so it's not such a big hit for the city all at once. And yes, those pieces of equipment we had a long discussion about, and we're trying to stay with our plan. And they are getting old. Our trucks are on the road, 5-6 days a week, and they're running all day long, picking up trash.
The other thing I want to add is some of these trucks take almost 2 years before we get delivery of them. So by the time we take delivery of the new pieces of equipment, that other equipment that we actually should be in replacement is actually already past that mark on the SURF.
If we pull those vehicles forward, and maybe they had this discussion last night, to which I will watch it, how does that impact us on fiscal year '25? Because those are supplemental appropriations.
Yes, they are. If the money isn't already in the SURF account, if we had to add to it, additional to what we've already added, then yes, it'd have to come back for a supplemental appropriation.
Okay, so if we have the money in there, because maybe we didn't buy everything we wanted to, just because we bought vehicles ahead of when we were supposed to, it is not a supplemental appropriation because we are not adding money to it, even though we are purchasing.
Right, if we're using the money that's already in SURF, no.
Already in the account.
Yeah.
Okay.
For instance, we saved over $100,000 buying the 2 pumper trucks together.
Yep.
And the thing right now is it's a good thing we did because of what's going on in the world, the cost would have been, a lot of the parts are made in Canada.
And Mexico.
Yeah, in Mexico. The fire truck's pretty much in Canada. Any other questions? Department of Public Works? Nope. Director Photo, thank you very much for coming in and going over this.
Thank you very
See
much.
you next week.
You requested to look at a tree that was snagged.
All right, Alden O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make the motion to table R-25-143, which is the pending 2026 municipal budget.
Motion on the floor is to table R-25-143 till the next budget meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment?
That's pretty tight to that other one.
Is there anyone that wishes to testify in public comment?
Gotcha. Well,
No? No one? General discussion and remarks by Alderman?
Great job,
Seeing none?
DPW, Director Photo.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes, I would like to make the motion, Mr. Chairman, to adjourn.
Motion on the floor is to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned at 8:08 PM.